Hello everyone. In the previous video I shared about how to create custom component file structure. In this video I will show how to write codes and how to create components. So in the last video we created this component file. Now we have to write codes to create component. So first of all we have to write codes in this test.xml. For this test.xml I have written some codes and I will paste this codes and explain step by step for you. So here I paste some XML codes, so I will explain step by step. So we are using XML version 1 and this is an UTF-8 to meet the standards of every characters. And extension, we have to create an extension, and this extension I give the version number 5.0 because I am using Joomla 5. So if you are using Joomla 3 or 4 you have to change this here. And I give the name as comtest, our project folder name, and author you can give your name, and creation date, copyright, license, this you can give as you want according to you. And the description, test component for Joomla 5, you can write anything. And this files and administration, so files, and these files we have to declare what files and folders we are working on. So in this comtest we are working with folder, controller folder, model folder, and view folder. And this controller, model, and view, there are two files also, test.php and index.html. So test.html is itself, so we have to we don't need to add this, we have to add other files and folders. So for the folders we have to write inside this folder tag, and for the files we have to write under file name. So we are working on administrator for admin part, so we have to write this also, administration, and we give the menu as test component. So this is the basic of XML code, that basic entry for Joomla 5 component. After creating this XML file we have to create other files also. Now let's go to test.php file. Now we have to write some codes here, so I will paste some codes and explain to you. So first we have to declare the JEXEC or die. This means not to direct access to this file. We have to declare this declaration in and most of PHP files in Joomla. So first we have to declare this, and we have to declare the controllers, in which controller we have to work in. So I will paste the codes and explain to you step by step. So app factory, yeah, I got an error because I have not import. I have to import this Joomla CMS factory, and for this component helper, now we have imported the file. First we write this code, it should be above First we have write this course app equal factory get application. That means it retrieves the Joomla application instance and it gets the import object to access request data. So it retrieves the Joomla application instance and import object to access request data. And the next one is we are declaring the context that our project is working on, and we have to declare the controller name as controller test controller name, and we are testing if the controller name is test or not. I mean it gets the controller name from the request, and it set the default controller name as test, and the second line controller name equal test. This means it ensure if the controller name is not empty to add the default as test. And controller class equal test controller, that means the class inside that controller is test controller. So we haven't created any class, but we have to create with the name test controller inside controller. So this means construct the controller class name by prefixing the test controller. And the next one is it constructs the path to the controller file based on the controller name. So in the previous we have declared the controller name as test, and the controller path is test underscore controller.php. So the controller path is under controller, and it changed the controller name to small letter. That means if the test is capital letter, it becomes to small letter. That means controller slash test underscore controller.php. This file, it is redirecting to this file. That means we are declaring the controller path as test controller.php. So it is checking if the controller test controller.php is exists or not. And if the path is exists, include it. If the path is not exist, here we declare the controller path to use the controller path as controller test controller.php. If the controller path is not exist, it will use this controller as test controller.php. This means declaring again. And the next one is controller new controller class. This means it's create the controller class. The controller class we created above, it created an instance of that controller class. It calls as an instance, and it executes the controller text based on the input. So we give the input as text, and it redirects as specified by the controller after executing the text. This means the whole file we are declaring the controller file. That we are working on this test controller, and that test controller we are working on the controller class as test controller. So after creating this test.php, now we have to create the test controller with the class name test controller that we declare here. So I will save this file and go to test controller. So under test controller, we have to first add this line, and this test controller also I will paste the codes and explain step by step to you. So this is the basic of controller class. Now we give the controller class name as test controller, and it extends the base controller. This is in Joomla 5. In other versions it extends to other class, other name. In this Joomla 5 it extends to base controller. So we have to extend that, and the next step is public function display. That means we have to write this display function to display it to connect with the view. So in this display function we are connecting with the view file, in which view folder we are viewing the template, we are showing the template. So we have to give the function a as public function display, and we are passing some parameters. If there are not parameters coming to this display function, it will use as cacheable force and UL param as empty array. If the parameters as, we have to write different codes. For that I will explain later in a little advanced case. So for now let's try the simple version. So the next step is view name, and this input get cmd view test. This means it retrieves the view parameter from the user input. Default is test if not provided, and store in view name. So we are retrieving the user input for the view. If there is no user from the user input coming from the parameter, it will set as default test. So we are setting the input view as test for this case. This means we are connecting with the test view. Then we have to display parent display cacheable URL params to display in the view. So this is the basic controller, this connecting with the view folder. So in the next step we have to work on views part. So let's go to the views part and try and write some codes about views. Before going to the views, there is a full file, model file. So as for now in this lesson it is not working on this model. So but for example I will show some codes like this. We have to write the test model like this, test model, and it extend to the base database model, because we are not working with database and others in this component. So we are not working on this model. So if we are working with database and other models files, we have to write codes here. So as for now define model logic here. That means we are not working on this. If you want to work, you have to write codes here. And for now we have to work on views part, because we have connected controllers with views in this test controller.php. So in this views, and I've used test. I have created view.html.php. I will paste some codes and explain step by step to you. Sorry. In this view file also we declare this, and we give the class test view test, and it extends to HTML view in Joomla 5, and we are redirecting to we are showing the parent display to template. For simple to understand, it is connecting with this template folder, and that we have to write in this default.php, we have to write actual codes that we want to show in that component. So I will save this view.html.php. I will save this, and in this default.php we have to write actual codes that will show in our component. So in this default.php, so this is the basic declaration in Joomla 5, and this test, when we run this component com test, we will it will show this test in our component. So this is the basic this is the actual test that will show in our component. So we have to connect one files with another because it is working on model view controller. So we have to connect each file with another, and finally in this default.php we have to write codes to display in our component screen. So now we have written some basic codes for component development. Now we can zip the file, we can install this component on our Joomla 5 site and test it is working or not. Let's try this. So let's go to our project folder. So this is my now working project folder, and we created under administrator components, we created the com test. So to work with this component we have to install this com test in our Joomla 5 site. So to install the extension, component extension, we have to create zip file for this. So let's create, right click and go to pen, click on yes. Now you can see the com test here. So we have successfully created the component as zip file. Now we have to install it in our Joomla 5 in our admin site. So let's go to our admin site, and to install the extension go to system. Now I have to install login, and a system, and go to here install extension. Now we can browse with the file, or we can drag the file. You can do as you want. I will drag the file. Now you can see installation of the component was successful. So let's look at to our components, and at these components you will see test component that we created. The test component, click on this, Now you can see test component. Hello, this is the testing of Joomla 5 simple component development. This text we write here. Our custom component is rich in this components folder. Now it is working fine. Our component development, custom component development is successfully done. So we can write other codes here to change the UI, to write other codes, to show other templates. So in this video I share about the basic how to create custom component in Joomla 5. So in other video I will create other components connecting with database and how to create data, how to delete data, how to edit data. For this video I just show how to create a very simple component, how to create file folders, and how to write the basic codes to create the basic component. So thank you very much for your attention.